Hey, what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we are going to look at the worst Marvel Legends of the year. I know some of you are thinking, well that's going to be a hard list to make, and it was. This was not a good year for Marvel Legends. There were some good figures, but with the incredible price hikes, it's very hard to consider them a good value. So I had to pick the worst of the worst, and this list could change easily on any given day, but this is what I came up with, and if you disagree, you can tell me in the comment section below. But we're going to go ahead and get started with some honorable mentions. The X-Men animated series figures, with the exception of Cyclops for sure, and maybe Wolverine, even though I think he kind of belongs in this group too. These figures are just a giant disappointment because they had such potential of being amazing, potential for being amazing. Hasbro should have just gone out of their way to make these just wonderful, wonderful figures, and instead they put almost no effort into them and made them actually pretty bad releases for the most part. And so it's just very disappointing for me, and I think pretty much any X-Men fan that was into this was very put off with the first couple releases at least. So let's go ahead and move on to number 10. We are going to be looking at the AOA Magneto, which it's just another example of how they don't do capes properly. They didn't do the hair properly. It's still like a bag of potatoes. It doesn't look like a superhero at all. He doesn't have the right bulk. He doesn't have the right physique. He doesn't have the right look. There's no paint. It's just a big hunk of red plastic and some purple plastic. It looks so cheap, and I don't know how I'm going to do this without saying the same stuff for every figure, but I'm going to try my best. But we still don't have a good Magneto, and this one being the best that they've made is still not good enough. So I'm still upset about that. Number 9 is the retro carded Hobgoblin, which I think is about the laziest reissue that they have done. The figure doesn't look anything like what it should look like if it's supposed to look anything like the cartoon, which it should because it's on this card, it's on this packaging. It doesn't match the original figure, it doesn't match the cartoon, and it's ugly as sin. There's virtually no paint, and it looks awful. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Every figure is going to have the same critique, but whatever, what can I do? I didn't make them. Alright, number 8 is Darwin. I hate putting him on the list after he's become so powerful in my reviews. He's been able to beat everybody, but the figure itself is actually quite bad. The only reason he's not higher up on the list because this is a horrible base body, it doesn't pose well, and the paints are terrible on this piece of crap. His head sculpt and the hands, I guess, but particularly the head sculpt, it's wonderful. They're sculpted really well. So it's a shame that it got put on this body that doesn't suit the character and it can't even pose. Despite the fact that it's so lanky and horribly sculpted, the articulation's also bad. For number 7, this figure makes the list for no other reason than the face. I mean, there are other reasons, but it could have done it just on the face. This doesn't look like a superhero, it doesn't look like a comic book character at all, but it most definitely doesn't look like somebody who yells as their superpower. This lady looks bored and has no open mouth at all. Therefore, she cannot be Siren. She is just a lady who stands there in a costume. But then the figure also was not well executed, but it doesn't even matter because the lack of a head sculpt is enough. For number 6, we have Sabertooth. This Sabertooth is by far the least accurate Sabertooth that they have given us. It doesn't match any particular look. It's close to the first appearance, but it's not. The head sculpt is huge and terrible. It looks like Joker with a weird haircut. The open toes and hands coming out of the glove, like the whole thing is just a mess. Not only is it the wrong physique for any Sabertooth ever, but it definitely isn't the right look at all. Like there's nothing right about this figure. It is all around horrible. For number 5, we have Despair, a giant hunk of black plastic with the tiniest little bit of paint and some tatters in his cape. It's the epitome of a bad Marvel Legends figure. It only got some credit because the cape is two-tone and the holes are done well enough, but the figure it couldn't have been lower effort, really. Well, that's not true, there are lower effort figures, we'll get to them, but it's pretty bad. It's really, really bad, and it took a character who's supposed to look menacing and made him look like he's wearing a Halloween costume. For number 4, we have AOA Cyclops. Not only didn't they paint significant portions of the figure where they needed to be painted, like his boots or whatever, he's the wrong color, and the head looks ridiculous. On top of that, most of the figure is just Bucky cap. So yeah, we got a couple of new parts in the arms and the harness and the head, but the main core body has been reused about 1,000,000 times. It's not good. The torso's okay, the legs are horrible, and then the head is just one of the ugliest head sculpts Hasbro's ever put out. it's oh man, talk about taking a bad design for Cyclops, arguably, and making it even worse. Like, you could have easily made it look cool enough, and they made it look even worse. For number 3, we have AOA's making a big splash this year. We have AOA Rogue. They messed up the suit design in a few different ways. The execution was horrible, the paint job was horrible, the hair was poorly sculpted, the boots were poorly sculpted. This figure's just a mess all the way around. This whole AOA wave, almost the whole wave, was a disaster. There's nothing else I can say. It's just, what paint is there is bad. It's missing other details that it should have, and the sculpt's bad too. Coming in at number 2, gonna disappoint some people, Black Panther. They didn't paint the details where they needed to. The cape is weird, and otherwise it's just a solid hunk of black plastic on a mold that they're gonna reuse a million times. They can't put any shading. They can't add the lines to the claws. What are they doing? It's just naked black plastic. There's no point in buying these collectibles because they don't look like anything. They look like little kids' toys. These are not collectibles, even though they are most definitely meant to be collectibles. Very, very disappointing that they couldn't even give us some shading. No shading, no paint, nothing. And then, coming in at number 1, if Black Panther was number 2, this guy has to be number 1. Because this figure is even lower effort than Black Panther. It's... what the heck? The big round head. It's missing the harnesses that it's supposed to have. The paint job, which is so minuscule, is not accurate. It's not applied properly. It's just a hunk of white plastic. It doesn't pose all that well. It doesn't represent the source material very well. They most definitely just cashed in on Black Panther being popular at the time to release some real crap figures that were probably almost pure profit. These figures are a perfect example of what Hasbro gets wrong, and that is that the people making the decisions don't care about collectors. The people making the figures, I'm sure, do, because they probably are collectors, but the pencil pushers at the top, they don't care. It's all about the bottom line, and these last 2 figures are the perfect example of why Hasbro, at the rate they're going, it's not going to go well for them with the Marvel Legends line, at least. With their other lines, they're doing pretty good. So anyway, that's my top 10 list, guys, of the worst figures that we've gotten in the Marvel Legends line. There were lots of stinkers, though, especially with the price hike, so I'd love to hear what you guys think were some bad figures. If you have a different top 10 list, I'm sure you do, put it in the comment section below. If you disagree with anything I said, put that in the comment section below. We'll talk about it down there, but that'll do it for me. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.